hopefully everybody did a good job with practice 2, 3, and 4. So now, just like we did in practice in section 7.1, we wanted to know what sample size would give us a certain margin of error. So notice with this formula, we have two different formulas and they're already solved for n fourths, which they weren't in the 7.1. And so notice the difference between these two formulas. So the first one we would use if we know what our point estimate is, if we happen to know what our p hat is. And in the second one, we would use if we don't happen to know what the p hat is. And so people may be wondering, well, where in the world is this 0.25 coming from that's replacing the p hat and the q hat? Well, essentially what we're doing is we're assuming kind of a 50-50 type thing in this situation. So this is sort of a worst case scenario. So it's almost like we're letting p hat equal 0.5 and we're letting q hat equal 0.5. And if we multiply those two together, that's where the 0.25 is actually coming from. So if we happen to know the p hat, it's definitely going to give us a more accurate answer in terms of the sample size that we'll need to choose. But if we don't happen to know the sample size or the p hat, then this still gives us a way to estimate what the sample size would be. So it's definitely going to be an overestimate. The second formula is going to give you a much, much bigger number than the first number, depending on what the p hat and things are like that. So, but again, at least it allows us to figure out what that is. All right, so let's take a look using this example. So suppose a polling company wants to ensure that their political poll has a margin of error of 3 percentage points or less using a 95% confidence interval. How many voters should the company poll to make this happen? So first thing we should hopefully notice is that there's no reference to a p hat or a sample point estimate or anything like that. So we're going to have to use formula 2 for this one. So we do know our 95% confidence interval, which tells us that our z is going to be 1.96 for this one. And our margin of error is 3 percentage points. So remember, we want to think of this in terms of a decimal. So that's going to be 0.03. So when we plug this into the formula, we're going to get 1.96 squared times 0.25, all divided by our 0.03 squared. So let me flip over to the calculator real quick so we can type this in. Squared times 0.25 and then divided by 0.03 squared. So again, notice pretty big sample that we're looking at here. So it looks like we're going to have to survey 1,068 people. So remember, whenever we're doing a sample size, we always want to round these numbers up. So we're looking at n being 1,068 people that we would need to survey in order to guarantee that we get that 3% margin of error that we were looking for. All right. So if you have any questions about that, definitely let me know. So otherwise, try practice 5, which again is finding the sample space. And then the next couple practice problems are going to try to have us figure out what the confidence interval is and then answer some questions about them, just like I did with example 1. So go ahead, work on practice 6, 7, 8, and 9. And again, if you get stuck or have any questions, just let me know. So otherwise, good job, and this is the end of chapter 7. So awesome work, everybody.